All right, we are live. Welcome, everyone. Happy Monday, and more importantly, happy National Dog Day, whatever that's supposed to mean. Woke up today and saw that, hey, it's National Dog Day. So go pet your dog, go give your dog an extra treat. Today, we're going to spend a little time with my dog. We're going to talk about retouching pet photos and how you can make your pet photography better and more professional and take away distracting elements from those pet shots. So with that said, welcome everyone. Thanks for being here. I see a bunch of people already in the room. Let's see, on YouTube, we have Paul. We have, is that Umar, Rafus, Rudy, Rachel, Jacome. If I'm saying that wrong, I apologize. And on the Facebook side, we've got a bunch of people. We've got Victoria, we've got Ruslan, Charles, Marcia, Marcia, sorry, and Lee, and Klaus, and Steve, and Eli, and Pauline just joined. And of course, we've got a bunch of folks on Twitter as well. So full house here today where we talk about pet photography retouching. So without further ado, and by the way, if you wonder, like, hey, where have you been for the past couple weeks? 1 week I was in California. I was on the Adobe Live, so if you could have watched that and you could have saw me live there. I was hosting while we were doing a little bit of graphic design on Adobe Live, which is behance.net/live/Adobe Live. And last week, I was actually at Photoshop World all week. So I am finally back in my home office and finally back to my regular streaming schedule until I'm out again. So with that said, let me go ahead and switch over to my computer so you guys can see what we're doing. And without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into today's project. So this is one I have not retouched on live stream before. It is from the shoot that I did retouch another shot from, but we'll just go ahead and see what it is. Let's go ahead and open up a picture of Lisa at the dog park. And this particular one is a raw shot. It was shot, I believe this one was shot with my D850, if not my Z6. I can't remember. Let's see, 70 to 200. So it's probably shot with my D850. And D810. Sorry, D810 on this one. And this one's already been adjusted for just bringing up the shadows a little bit. As a matter of fact, we can bring them up a bit more. And I'm just going to go ahead and open this up. Now, before I open this up, quick update. For those of you who are using Lightroom Classic, you know there was an update last week that allowed you to have faster GPU acceleration when you're working in the develop module. And those GPU accelerations also came over to Camera Raw. So while you're doing things here in Camera Raw, especially things like working with the adjustment brush, those things should be faster as well. But let's go ahead and open up this image. Now that I have it open in Photoshop, we're going to go ahead and talk about the distractions. Well, what's a distraction, first and foremost, from any photo, not just a pet photo? A distraction, in my opinion, is something that takes the viewer's eye away from the intended subject. So whatever your intended subject is, if someone's constantly looking away, trying to figure out what something else is in the photo, then that's usually a distraction. If they're like, what's that person, who's that guy back there? Is that someone you know? What's that piece of paper on the ground? Is that a fence back there? If they're starting to ask those kinds of questions, then those are distractions. Now, you won't be able to get rid of all distractions unless you just take the subject and put it on a white background. Then all distractions will be gone. So there will be some elements that remain that are part of the environment. But you don't want those elements to be so distracting that the person is constantly looking at something, trying to figure out what it is, or their eye just keeps going to it. Now, in general, when it comes to bright things in your photo, the human eye normally goes automatically to the brightest thing in the photo. So that's another just tip. If something is really bright in your photo, even though it's supposed to be there, that's probably going to take attention away from your subject too. So you might want to either make it the same amount of exposure as the subject or less, so that your subject's the most exposed thing in the photo. And maybe we can do that at the end as well. So first thing I'm going to do, and keep in mind, because a lot of people say, shouldn't you duplicate the layer? Shouldn't you work with a bunch of layers? I'm going to work with layers. I am going to duplicate the layer. But keep in mind, this came from a raw file. I will always have the original raw file to go back to. So when I save this, it'll save it as a PSD, a JPEG, or a TIFF. It will not affect my original raw file. So if you're working with raw, you always have your original anyway. You're not going to mess that up. Okay, so with that said, before I even make that duplicate, one of my distractions, and this is just a typical landscape type distraction, meaning you can see a horizon. I can see this line that is the horizon, or maybe this line is the horizon, whatever you want to call it. It's just slightly crooked. It's like leaning just ever so slightly to the right. So in my mind, that's a distraction, because although this was probably a hill and it's probably level, to the viewer doesn't know or shouldn't have to guess, is she on a hill? Is it going up? Don't take that out of the equation. So let's go to the crop tool, and we're going to grab the straighten tool from that. And with the straighten tool, which is right up here at the top, we're just going to go ahead and drag it along the edge that you want to be or should be straight. And that will ever so slightly straighten the image out. And like her head's more level now. It's just like there's no more tilt in the photo just by doing that. And that takes care of one of the distractions right off the bat. Now again, for my people that just freak out when they see someone retouching on the background layer, I am going to duplicate the layer just for you, and also something so that we'll have a before and after to come back to in the same file. All right, so now where do you go next? Which distraction do you get rid of next? There are several in this photo, and I'll point them out as I go along. It really doesn't matter. Like, there's no rule that you have to start with a particular distraction. I started with straightening the photo. That could have been done last. So there's no rule, but I find that if you get rid of the things that are distracting you the most, or the things that are bothering you the most, until nothing else bothers you, then I would say you'll find yourself working with things faster and easier. So the thing that's bothering me the most is this stranger, this person behind my dog. I don't know who that is. That's just another dog owner in a dog park. So that person's got to go. If I got rid of nothing else, like that would be the main distraction I'd be wanting to get rid of, because this person adds nothing to the story. They're looking away. They're out of focus with depth of field, and they just don't belong there. So, if I would have waited and took the shot a few minutes later, I probably would have just waited till that person was gone. So you can use your lasso. I'm going to use my patch tool. I could use my lasso. Let's use lasso. I'm going to use my lasso and just make a quick selection, a pretty liberal, broad selection around this person. But when I get to where he's right behind her, I got to tighten that up so that I can do as good of a selection around that part as I can. Then this part, well, his arm is luckily giving me some room around the fur. And then I got to go around the ear and all the way back over. Now, I cut too much in the ear, so I'm going to hold down my Option key or Alt key to subtract that little piece of ear out of there. And I'm going to hold down my Shift key to add back in a little selection there where I didn't get close enough. And I'm looking around it. I'm pretty happy. Okay, so now at this point, a lot of the tips and tools we're going to be using today are patch tool, healing brush, clone stamp, and content aware fill. I won't know which one works best until I try it. Now, since this is kind of a broad selection around a complicated thing and the dog's underneath, Lisa's underneath, it's not going to be easy no matter what I do. So I'm going to try a content aware first, see what I get. And if not, we're going to go over to the content aware workspace, because sometimes content aware can, make me happy. Sometimes it doesn't. Depends on what it is. Now, because we duplicated the layer, instead of just hitting delete, which I would normally do, I have to do Shift delete because it's on a layer. So Shift delete, that'll bring up content aware fill, or Shift backspace on Windows. So content aware fill, 100% opacity, normal. I could use color adaptation. Let's go ahead and turn that on and just click OK and see what happens. And not bad. Not bad at all, actually, and I could live with this. I could just fix this little part of Lisa that it cloned over, and I could live with that. But I'm going to undo it, because if I don't, then I won't get a chance to show you the Content Aware workspace. But I would, if back in the day, I would have been happy with that and just got rid of this one little part and fixed these edges, and I would have been happy. This would have been a good Content Aware for the first time on a complicated image. But let's undo it. Let's go to Edit and go into the new, somewhat new, less than a year old, Content Aware Fill workspace. When I go to Content Aware Fill, I've got mine set to the green shows me the excluded areas, not the sampling areas by default. So basically it shows me the areas that are going to be excluded, which is this part. And then I can go in and I can say, don't mess with any of this. Now, the minute you start painting, you will, here, let me undo that. You will see the results in the preview. So right now that's without me doing anything. If I just come down here and paint, this is showing me when I let go what I'm going to get just by doing that. So it's already updated to be better than what I would have gotten before. And I can just paint out things that I don't want it to use. If I don't want it to use that tree doesn't get used. And so already I'm going to get a better Content Aware fill. I can come over here and paint some more, and it will just continue to adjust based on what I'm telling it to exclude. This is why I love the Content Aware workspace, because this is great. All right. Next thing is you also have the choice. Remember I used color adaptation, just checking the box. Well, now you have a choice as to how it uses it. So default, high, and you can just switch. They're all going to be different. One might look better than the other one. So I usually switch between them to see if I like it better. So that one I don't like better, that's high. Very high is probably not going to be better. And I can also try none. And none is actually probably the best result. Let's try none. And default, yeah, I can live with either one. But let's go with none, because I think none is the best result in this case. So we'll go with none. All right. So now I have it also set to output this to a new layer. I can say I'll put it to the current layer, but that's only if you want this fill to be on its own layer. I don't really have a reason to have this fill on its own layer. I can't think of anything I'm going to do with it on its own layer. So I'm going to put it on the current layer, but normally I do have this set to be on a new layer. So you have that option if you want layers. So I'm going to click OK. That will give me the exact fill I need on the same layer, just like Content Aware Fill would have done anyway. And now I can deselect and I can clean up the stuff that it didn't do well. So it didn't do well around the edge at the top of the dog. I know that. It didn't do well around the ear. So I can start fixing those things. But before I get too carried away with fixing that, I want to go ahead and just work on a couple other areas first. So the first thing I want to do is go to the patch tool. And now there's a fence going all the way across the image. So this white thing going all the way across is technically a fence that you can barely see. So because I'm already working on this area, I'm going to just go ahead and start getting rid of this fence. That's a distraction to me. And then I can come in and start trying to clean up some of the stuff around the ear that it didn't do so well. And I'm going to show you another method to get really up close and tight. I'm just going to get rid of some of the big stuff first and blend in where that edge kind of got smooshed. There we go. That looks better. And this edge of the fence at the very top here, top of her head, just using the patch tool, and I'm just patching these areas out. Okay, so now where I need to get in closer, I'm going to zoom in a little closer. That way I can see the edges there, and I can see how it just didn't really do a good job around that edge. Now this is a job for the Clone Stamp tool. Clone Stamp tool is going to let me get right up to the edge. I'm going to make my brush nice and small. Hold down my Option or Alt key to click where I want to clone from, and then just go right up to the edge and get rid of that leftover halo from the rest of the image there. There we go. Same thing. Pick a new spot up here, Option click or Alt click, and then we're just going to clean that edge up right along the top. All right, same thing, just a little bit more halo there. Just want to get rid of all the halo around the ear so this background looks like it's coming up right next to the ear. Now, there was a time that you would have done the whole thing with the clone stamp tool because that's all you had. So you would have had to clone out every single thing that was a distraction. But luckily, we have other tools to do the work a little faster, and then you can use the clone stamp to fine tune. Okay, same thing. We're working on this fence in pieces because that's usually easier to do. So I'm going to take another piece of the fence here and just pull down. Oops, I don't want to get that. Pull down and just take out that fence part. All right, same thing here, another part of the fence. We'll just remove. This was a sign on the fence. I'll just remove that. Here's another part of the fence in the corner. We'll remove that. While we're in the corner, by the way, and I still need to do a little cloning at the top of the head there. There is a tree. I'm going to leave the tree, obviously. But there's a branch, kind of like this thing just sticking up with no leaves on it. So, in my opinion, it's just a stick. But anyway, it's a branch coming off the tree. Adds no value to the photo whatsoever because it's just a stick. It just makes you think, wonder why that stick doesn't have any leaves on it. You start thinking of stuff like that. It's taken away from your photo. So let's just remove that extra branch and just get rid of that completely. All right, so now when it starts to smudge like this, you can usually take care of that or do a better job with content-aware fill on the patch tool. That'll make a cleaner patch than trying to do it with normal. Okay, so let's zoom in a little bit. There we go. And the next thing we're going to do is let's go ahead and go back to the clone stamp tool, letter S, and we're just going to kind of, again, clone closer to that ear so that we're not creating a distraction with the environment that was around it that we pulled from. Oop, I went into the ear. Hang on, I went too close. Let's try it again. I'm coming straight down because that way I'll be cloning the stuff directly above the head. I got to watch under my hand here. And it looks like I'm cloning something that's too light or too dark. That's okay, I'm going to blend it in. And now that I got that, we'll blend it in with the patch. So same thing, we're just going to go straight up with it. And it's on content aware, so that means it's going to do more of an exact copy or clone or patch, I guess is the best way to say it. And then there are times where I want to switch it to normal to blend it in better. Now again, these are just little things I'm seeing. The average person wouldn't even notice this stuff because the background's out of focus anyway. This could be anything. But I don't want to create a distraction that wasn't there because of something else I took out. All right, that's better. Ooh, still a little bit of something going on there. Let's clean that up. Okay, better. We could spend all day on that. Okay, so now we got rid of a lot of the stuff in the background. Still a big sign here. Let's get rid of this sign because it's white, it's bright. It's going to detract from the photo. There's a big sign, it's probably a sign on the fence here as well. Let's just get rid of all of this because something bright will definitely detract away from your subject. And we're going to switch to content aware on this one and pull. That will do a nice job there. And just a little bit of that edge left over. I'm working on my Cintiq, by the way. I'm using a Wacom pen, a Wacom stylus, directly on my screen, which makes making these selections much, much easier. All right, so now I want to blend in that hard edge, so I'm going to switch back to normal. Just kind of blend that right in, just like that. Okay, so I'm much happier with the background. There's still a sign here right next to her head, but it's enough out of focus and not bright enough to be a total distraction. But if I did want to get rid of this, I would do it in pieces, sort of like this. And probably on content aware. Maybe I'll do a better job. There we go. And then I would just start getting rid of the rest of it. Coming up around the ear, getting rid of the bulk of it, and then we'll clone stamp any that we want to fix. All right, not bad. And then we'll clone stamp the rest. Whoa. Let's try that again. And I'll separate this and blend it in. Or maybe not. Maybe I won't have to. All right. Just using the clone stamp to try and fill in some of this brightness that the sign used to be. Okay, so now we have all those rough edges. Again, we'll go back to our patch tool, go back to normal, and we'll just start patching this stuff in to blend it. Same thing here. We'll just blend this in. Much better. All right. You get the idea. Spend a little bit more time on that area, getting it just right. Same thing here. All right, so now, and again, you can spend all day on those areas too, until you get it just the way you want. Now let's get to Lisa herself. So Lisa was wearing a harness, she's wearing a tag, she's wearing all this stuff hanging down, all distractions. Even though she's the subject, that stuff's still distracting. So again, like for example, this one hanging on between her front legs. It's just a strap on the other side. We'll just go ahead and patch that out. Oops, let's undo that. And let's use content aware instead. There we go. Nice job there. Same thing here. I'm going to work in pieces, so I don't want to patch the whole thing at once. I'm just going to cut it off for now. All right, then we'll blend in. And we'll blend that. Okay, good. All right, same thing here. We'll take this strap down here at the bottom. All right, come over here with it. Do a nice blend there. I don't know what this is, but it's got to go. Might have been that guy behind her, the original guy that we took out at the top. It might have been his feet or his legs. I don't know, but they're going. I'm just going to blend all that in. All right, now we got rid of the straps that were the most distracting hanging down, but we can still do more. Like there's this strap coming around her chest or neck area. Let's just start getting rid of some of this. So this is not going to be totally easy, but we'll get it done. So I'm just going to make a selection around this area first because we're going to do this in pieces. And we're just going to pull it straight down to try and match the same, I didn't do a good job, let's undo. Same outline of her leg. I see what I did wrong. Let's pull it out some more. There we go. Not bad. I just wanted that edge to line up. We'll fix the part that's smudged in a second. Same thing here. We'll just get rid of this whole tag area that I don't want. Pull that straight down. And we don't want things to be an exact duplicate. So we don't want the same spot, 3 times in a row, because that kind of gives it away that you did something there. Because it just doesn't happen in nature that you would have the exact same spots all the way down. Now, same thing with the shadow. We don't want the exact same shadow all the way down either. So we're just going to alter it a bit. So it's not the same shadow, not the same spots. Okay, then we'll go ahead and take care of this shadow. Okay, now I'm going to switch to content aware because I want more of an exact patch instead of one that's smudged. There we go, that's better. And now we just need to soften those edges. Okay, same thing here. Content aware is going to give me more of an exact patch. Same thing here. Content aware is going to give me more of an exact patch. There we go. And then I can blend in the spots that I don't want to be the same. Okay. All right, it's looking better. We could get rid of the collar around the neck, but I'm going to leave that for now. We do have this one, we have a couple straps here. We have one strap going here. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and remove all of that. And then blend it when I'm done. All right, so now we'll just soften that a bit. There you go. And just so we don't have the exact same spot. Now, there is still the harness on the top of her back. And if I had more time, I'd actually move some of this white fur up to the top here and move some of the black up there, and I'd eventually get rid of it. But for the sake of time, it's just duplicating what you saw me do already. Okay, so now, other distractions. Now that you got rid of the big ones, what about the little ones? And what I mean by little ones is just little stuff on the ground now that's just kind of like these little white pieces. I'm sure it's not paper, but it looks like little white specks of leaves or whatever. Just your patch on normal and just start taking some of that stuff out. Because it is bright, it will bring your eye down to it to try and figure out what it is, because my eye went to it to figure out what it was. I don't know if that's paper or leaves, or paper and leaves. It's not paper because this park's pretty clean, but it's some type of thing that, again, it's making me ask the question, what is it? And therefore, it's taking my mind away from the subject that we're looking at. So I just want to take out all the things that make you ask, what is that? And so the only thing left that's making me ask, what is that? Is there's a green thing in the upper right corner. It looks like it's part of a door. And I could live with it. But why live with it if I don't have to? Let's see if we can get rid of some of it first. Okay, and then get rid of the rest. There we go. Now it's less of a distraction. So now it just looks like pieces of wood or trees or whatever that might be. Okay, so the only thing I would do now is just go around the edges again with my clone stamp just to clean up those edges or things I might have missed. Like right in there, I can see an edge that I might have missed. Nice small brush. Oh, hang on, didn't mean to hit save yet, although you should save. Let's deselect. There we go. You should always save. Don't do what I do. Don't save at the last minute. Save along the way. All right, just little things around the edge, little edges that I may have not blended properly. Same thing with this stuff here. I'm just going to lighten that just a bit and then blend it. All right, we'll grab our patch and we'll just take all of this, just smooth that out. It's really easy when the background's out of focus, because then that could be anything. All right, so now there's another distraction. The distraction that's bothering me now is that I can see one of her eyes, but one of her eyes is completely in a shadow. That's bugging me. So I need to be able to see both eyes. So I can do this a few ways. Let's use a filter. Let's go in and apply, first of all, convert for smart filters to make it so we can always adjust the filter later if we want. Go up to our filter menu, come down to Camera Raw filter. And in the Camera Raw filter, we can zoom in on this eye that I can barely see. I know it's there. And we could continue to adjust things like the shadow. See, it's there. It will come out, but I don't want to bring out the rest of the photo that much. So I just want to isolate my area to just this. Now I can do this two ways. I can use the radial filter and just use a radial filter adjustment and then just adjust the exposure in that area or the shadows in that area. That's going to do it in the shape of an oval or ellipse, and it's soft enough, it'll work. Or cancel that, go back to the content aware filter, I'm sorry, camera raw filter, and let's zoom in one more time. And the next thing, the other way is to use the adjustment brush, which is this one. So with the adjustment brush, I've got those same adjustments. I'll pull down the exposure a bit. And then I can just, instead of it being a circle, meaning a circle shape, I can just paint in where I want to be able to see that brighter adjustment. So now I've painted an area, and now I can do whatever I want in that area. I can bump the shadows in that area, bring that eye detail out. I can also add a little texture to sharpen the eye a bit. I can also paint a little over here just on the eye itself to bring that eye out. And if I wanted to, I don't think I need to, but I could also adjust the exposure. I think that's maybe just a little bit more. And I could also increase the sharpness. Since we're working with an eye, we want that eye nice and focused anyway. All right, so that'll bring out just that extra little bit of detail that you want to be able to see both eyes of your pet whenever possible. Next, there was one more thing I was going to do. Oh, so while we're at it, let's go back to the camera raw filter one more time. And in the camera raw filter, I want to see post crop vignette. So remember I said your eye goes to the brightest part of the photo first. So if I really want, and I could brighten her, I could brush her whole body and make her more exposed or brighter, or the opposite, darken the surrounding areas so she automatically becomes brighter. So with the post-crop vignette, I can just add a little vignette to kind of even create like a spotlight effect. That's a bit much, but I can go all the way down to that. Kind of create like a little spotlight. So she becomes your eye automatically goes to the brightest thing, which would be the middle of the photo. So you could also adjust the midpoint. You can adjust the roundness. Kind of like that. You can adjust the amount of feather, so a hard edge or soft edge. And you can bring up the highlights, which I don't want to do in a vignette. My whole thing is to make it darker. So we add a little bit more right about there. Now, if you want, you can also create an empty layer and paint with black and lower the opacity. There are specific things you want to get darker. So for example, if I create one more new layer, and I just grab a big old paintbrush and set my default color to black, and I just go in and there we go. I was just gonna turn this whole layer to black. So I just darken the stuff that I don't want to see. I darken the stuff that I don't want to see. And then I can just lower the opacity of that layer. Not the fill, just the opacity. There we go. Lower the opacity, and that way you're creating your own custom vignette. You're putting a darker area on just the spots you want. So lots of techniques to do this. You get the idea. And of course, the overall photo, if we go back to camera raw, we could make the overall photo a little brighter while we're at it, just so she stands out a little bit more. All right. And now I want to adjust the vignette some more now I've done that. So let's go back to the vignette. There we go. Let's bring the vignette back down a little bit more. All right. And again, you still have your custom layer, which you can still paint on. Change the opacity. No, don't go that far. Change the opacity of it. Get it just the way you want, so that now you really are focused on the center of attention, which is your pet. All right. That's it. So we covered quite a bit in this how to make your pet, how to remove distracting elements from your pet. And of course, if your pet's a dog, happy National Dog Day. Cheers, everybody. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you on the next one, which will be tomorrow. Tomorrow's InDesign Tuesday. It's been a while. We're going to be back to InDesign on Tuesday. And I'm going to actually do a user requested subject. So if you got subjects that you want to cover, suggest them, because a lot of times I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I just grab an idea. So if you got an idea that you want something, just reach out to me on social media, put it in the chat, let me know what you want, and then away we will go. All right. So again, Lisa says hi. Lisa says bye. Lisa says happy National Dog Day. Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching.